but here's something about the queue lines and the waiting areas that became very uncomfortable for me when it got crowded. It is Sunday, August 2nd, 2020, and on this week's edition of Sunday Sofa Time, we're talking about visiting Disneyland Paris this summer. Sorry everybody, I made a mistake in the intro. I said that it's already August, but it's obviously not already August. It's only... How did that happen? It's great to be back here sitting in front of the red sofa. As you know, the last 2 weeks, well actually this month, I've been doing a lot of getting around again because I can't go to the States and because the cruise options are very limited still. I've decided to do a lot of exploring of the attractions and parks and things like that here in Germany and around continental Europe. And one of the parks, or one of the locations that we visited recently, was Disneyland Paris. We just got back a couple days ago and there's going to be videos from those experiences coming onto this channel in the next few weeks. But because I know that a lot of you have questions and I know that a lot of you are fans of the parks in Florida and maybe are thinking of visiting Florida, and I think probably a lot of you are maybe, you know, here in Europe and thinking of visiting the parks here in Paris. And so I thought before I get to those things, I can sit down here in front of the sofa and tell you a couple important things to know about the parks in Paris. I want to talk about the hotels and what's different. I want to talk about getting to the parks and what's different. I want to talk about in the parks, like the restaurants, what's going on, and most importantly, what it's like on the rides and waiting in the lines. To give you an idea of the exact dates we were there from July 23rd to the 27th this summer, 2020. And the first important thing you need to know, if you don't know this already, is at the moment, it is still not possible to just show up there and buy a ticket to the park. It was weird because the ticket booths are not even open. There's nobody even in them. You just walk past them. You must reserve your ticket online in advance. And if you have an annual pass for Disneyland Paris, and I made this whole series about my drama with our annual passes that still has not been resolved. Anyways, if you have an activated annual pass, you also need to go to the Disneyland Paris website and reserve the days that you want to be there. And I know it's like that in Florida as well. So that's something that is similar from Disneyland Paris to Walt Disney World in Florida at the moment. Have to reserve your days in advance, and annual pass holders can do it as well. Here's a major difference when you compare Paris to Florida at the moment. As you know, Florida has the 4 parks, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Studios, and Animal Kingdom. Paris has 2 parks, well, let's be honest, 1.5 parks. And in Florida at the moment, there is no park hopping. You reserve 1 park for a day and there is not the possibility to leave that park and go to another park on the same day. In Paris, it's like exactly the opposite. You make a reservation and it's only for both parks. You can't pick one park or the other. We stayed in an official Disney resort in Paris for the first time ever. Haven't done that yet. We stayed in Hotel Cheyenne. And we also took a little day trip, or actually an evening trip, over to the Newport Bay Club to check that out as well. And those, at the moment, are the only 2 resorts open in Paris. There are other possibilities to stay very close to Disneyland Paris in like the partner hotels, but as far as official Disney resorts on property, those are the only 2 things open. Hotel Cheyenne does offer a breakfast and dinner package, I guess. They have a restaurant, a very large restaurant in the resort. And usually during normal times, it's a buffet. But at the moment, of course, they can't do that. So how it works is you get a checklist from your server, and then you check off everything you want, and then they bring it to the table on plates, and you can order several times. So it's kind of like a buffet and kind of like ordering from a menu. And that's a small difference to what it's like during normal times. Here's a much bigger difference when it comes to staying in the hotels. After you check in, they won't come to clean your room until you check out. If you need to take out the trash or whatever, that's no problem. You just put it in the hallway and they'll give you new bags. If you need new towels, you just ask them and they'll bring you a stack of towels wrapped in plastic. And as far as I know, that's about it. They won't enter your room until you leave, because they have to like come in and totally disinfect everything before the next guests come, and in order to protect the mousekeeping, the people who clean the rooms, that's the system at the moment. And I'm pretty sure it's like that in Florida as well. So that's a pretty big difference to normal times, but it's something that, yeah, we had no problem with. We stayed there for 4 nights, I think. Yeah, 4 nights, and we took out the trash once, and we had enough towels, so it really was not a big deal. The shuttle buses from the hotels are running to the parks just like normal. We always walked, but there are buses available. When you get to the Disney property in Paris, they will be doing a bag check, just like always. And one thing that was, or one thing that I know that's different in Paris than in Florida, or one thing that's missing in Paris, is we never had our temperatures checked. And I know in Florida, they always check your temperature. And when you get into the park, the experience in the park is kind of like normal, but there are things in place for social distancing, and of course there is the requirement to wear a covering over your mouth and nose on the entire Disney property. That means walking around the hotel, walking to the parks from the hotel, walking through the Disney Village, walking from Big Thunder Mountain to Space Mountain, while riding Space Mountain, while riding It's a Small World. It's a requirement to wear a mask covering your nose and mouth everywhere, all the time, unless you're eating. I know that in Florida, all the parks have, I think they're calling them relaxation zones, where you're allowed to sit and take off your mask for a while. I don't think Paris is doing that. I couldn't find any information about it, and we definitely didn't see that while we were there. As far as attractions open in the parks, I felt like everything was open. There was not one single attraction that I noticed that was closed due to the current situation. There were things that were closed that were planned to be closed because they're renovating them or reimagining them. But as far as rides, things that move, everything was open. The things that were closed or very heavily altered due to the current situation are any kind of live shows with people singing and dancing on stage, and the character greetings. That doesn't mean there isn't an opportunity to interact with the characters and meet them and take pictures, but it's always with a little bit of a distance between you and that character. And I have to tell you the truth, we saw tons of characters in the parks. Like, way more than usual, it seemed to me. During usual times, the most effective way to meet characters is to go to one of the like organized character meet and greets where you wait in a line and then you encounter like Mickey in his dressing room or the princesses in their, you know, princess area. But nowadays they're like all over the place. They were there every morning greeting the guests at the Main Street station, or while you're walking through the indoor area of the Studios park. They were always there at the end of the day waving goodbye to the guests at the same place. We saw the characters driving down Main Street. We saw the Incredibles driving around that big empty area in the Studios park. There were characters everywhere, and that is one really cool thing about the way they're doing it currently. Let's say it that way. Okay, so I talked a little bit about eating at the hotel, and one thing that we did notice was very different at the moment is many counter service restaurants in the parks are closed. So if you have a favorite quick service location in one of the parks, you might be disappointed because many are closed at the moment, meaning that, yeah, the options are limited. One thing we did notice, however, is that certain locations that were closed during the week, so on Thursday and Friday, were open on the weekend. So like Fuente del Oro in Frontierland is closed, the Cowboy Cookout Barbecue is closed, and Colonel Hattie's Pizza Outpost in Adventureland, which is like one of the biggest, most popular quick service restaurants in the park. I was surprised it was closed during the week, but open on the weekend. We did easily get a reservation for Captain Jack's, aka the Blue Bayou, the amazing restaurant inside Pirates of the Caribbean. Video coming soon. Usually you have to book a long time in advance to get a table in there, but we got a table for the next day. Also, we just walked right up to Agrabah Cafe and got a table for lunch there. And Agrabah Cafe, also really cool atmosphere inside. Expensive, but a cool atmosphere. It's also usually a buffet, and they have the same system that we noticed at Hotel Cheyenne for breakfast, that the menu is certain plates set up. So it's like, there's plate 1 and that has 2 different kinds of hummus and olives. And then there's plate 2 and that has like lamb and potatoes, and plate 3 and on and on and on. And then you can just order the plates and you order as many as you want. Also a video about that coming soon. All right, I want to talk about the rides and the waiting areas now, because that is something that was the biggest difference and is sort of, it might be a make or break for you when planning your trip. But before I get to that, please forgive me for putting a little commercial break right here. Did you get one? It seems to be working better, but please give me some feedback in the comments below. Let me know if you saw a little commercial right there in that break. So as you know, because of the current situation, for our safety, it's recommended and required at Disney that you cover your nose and mouth the entire time, and that you keep physical distancing. And when you're just walking around through the park, of course, physical distancing is pretty easy, even when it's kind of crowded, and it was kind of crowded. I was surprised. I've seen videos of people walking around the Disney parks in Florida and like people posting pictures of themselves alone on Rise of the Resistance. And we did notice that during the week on Thursday and Friday, it seemed quite empty. In one day, we got 5 rides on Big Thunder Mountain Inn, and that's with no Fast Pass. There is no Fast Pass at the moment. And you know, usually during summer vacation at Disney, you're not getting 5 rides on Big Thunder Mountain unless that's all you do with your entire day. One day we did everything, and I really mean everything, in the Studios park before 11:30 in the morning. And yeah, it's a very small park and much of it is closed at the moment, but still. However, on the weekend, it got full. I was surprised because during Thursday and Friday, we did see signs outside the park saying, "We're sorry, but we're sold out for today. There are no tickets available." And I was surprised then that it seemed so much different on the weekends. So either they had a different limit of how many people they could have in the park on Thursday and Friday in comparison to the weekend, or just like tons of people didn't show up, because like I said, it was noticeably fuller on the weekend. Also, the quality of the behavior of the guests that were there on the weekend was noticeably worse. I'm talking about people keeping physical distance, I'm talking about people wearing masks. All that got worse on the weekends. And I asked you guys on social media, on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, if it's like that in the American parks as well, and you were all like, yes. So I guess that's just a thing. That being said, the longest that we had to wait for anything was, I think, like 40 minutes. And that is not bad at all. A lot of things were a walk-on or like a 5-minute wait. Even on the weekend, but that was later in the day, during like the peak hours of between 11 and like 4, full. And everything was like a half an hour to a 45-minute wait posted at the entrance. So the way they keep social distancing in place while you're actually on the rides is they don't seat every seat. And that's probably one of the reasons why the lines are as long as they are. There's probably not as many people in the lines as usual, but because of the way that everybody's spaced out in the lines and the fact that they're only seating like every other seat or every second seat, that just makes it look longer and it makes it take longer in comparison to how it usually is. I mean, Space Mountain can run, I think, 5 trains at a time, and that just, you know, that just devours the capacity of the people in the queue. But at the moment, when they're only sitting every other seat, that just makes it take longer, you know what I mean? Disney, in comparison to other parks that I visited in the last month, instead of having like dots on the ground that are like, stand here, Disney has gigantic stickers on the ground that say, don't stand here. And I just noticed that those work better to remind people and to keep people apart from each other. Of course, it doesn't mean that everybody pays attention, but On average, I felt like it worked so much better at Disney than all the other parks that I visited recently, except Toverland in the Netherlands. That was where people were just ridiculously far apart from each other, and I saw basically no exceptions all day long. So a major plus about all this, as far as the park experience goes, is you can get a lot of rides in a day during the summer, where usually you need to use your fast passes and you need to like be at the park from the early morning until the closing hour of the evening to get everything in and to maybe get a double ride on something. At the moment, it's not like that. You can get on everything you want and most stuff twice, even when it's full. And that sounds like a great thing if you love Disney and if you are planning a visit to the parks. But here's something about the queue lines and the waiting areas that became very uncomfortable for me when it got crowded. So not only do they have these big stickers on the ground to remind people don't stand here, stand in the place between the stickers, but some of the queue lines for the big attractions have a lot of these switchbacks, you know, where usually you're standing really close to the people on this side and really close to the people on this side, and you're going this way and they're going that way. And I want to show you some examples. So this is the waiting area for Crush's Coaster, a really cool one-of-a-kind Disney ride that you can't ride anywhere else at the Walt Disney Studios Paris. This is the line for Dumbo, and this is the line for Big Thunder Mountain. And what they've done to utilize this space but still keep it safe is they've put up plexiglass walls. So that means, you know, you control the distance between you and the people in front of you, and then the way that you're safe from the people who are standing right next to you is there's a plexiglass wall. But it's like a labyrinth. I mean, you don't have to have been to Disneyland Paris to know what I'm talking about. If you've been to Florida and ridden Big Thunder Mountain there, you know that the waiting area that's like above the station, it's exactly the same way. And now it's like a maze of see-through walls, but you know how many of those switchbacks there are up there, and there's like no escape. There are times where it's like 3 or 4 layers of these walls before you could get out of there. And I'm not somebody who normally deals with like a claustrophobia or anything like that. However, there was one point where I started to get a little bit freaked out, and what happened was, it was on the weekend, and the woman and her daughter that were behind us in the line had an extremely uncomfortable energy, to say it nicely.
And they were standing so close to us.
Like, there were times when she was standing, like, not even behind us, but next to us. And she had her mask down below her nose, and she was talking on her phone in a loud conversation like this to somebody the entire time. And no matter how many dirty looks I gave her and how many times I looked down at her feet and looked up at her, she just kept talking on her phone and just kept inching closer and closer and closer. And I literally had no way to get away from her because of all these walls. And like I said, because she was having an angry conversation on her phone, very loud, and obviously did not care about what anybody was thinking about her because of the way she was dressed and because of the way she was talking on the phone and because of the things she was saying on the phone in this crowded area with everybody listening, and because of the fact that she was built like Serena Williams, I didn't want to say anything to her because, like I said, if she got even more uncomfortable and maybe even got pushy or something, there was no escape. And that for me it's a deterrent, and also a reason why on the weekend we ended up not riding Big Thunder Mountain until later in the day when the lines were much, much shorter. I mean, normally a half an hour wait for Big Thunder Mountain is like nothing, not a big deal at all. But imagine waiting in this for a half an hour. You know, my only suggestion would be to not use that area of the queue. To just use the outdoor, you know, like winding path, sort of up and around to the station, and then to have it go down out through the park or something. And of course, it's gonna look really long, but it's just much more comfortable and much safer than waiting for a half an hour in, you know, like a mirror maze basically, but where the mirrors are see-through. One thing I forgot to mention while I was sitting in front of the red sofa is that there are hand sanitizer dispensers everywhere. They're at the entrances to the queues, they're in the middle of the queues, they're at the places where you get into the ride vehicles, they're at the exits of the rides, and there are other dispensers located throughout the parks and in the bathrooms, so you have plenty of opportunities to blast your hands with sanitizer. And there you go. That's what it was like. Those are the biggest differences and the things that you need to expect if you're gonna go there. And I hope that this was interesting to you and helped you if you're planning a trip. If you have any other questions or things you want to talk about in relation to this, write them in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you when I can. And speaking of comments, now comes the time on Sunday Sofa Time where I comment on your comments live on air. In the last official Sunday Sofa Time where I was sitting here, I did a comment on your comments and that was the entire video because I missed so many commenting on your comments. So this video is, or these comments are going to be me commenting on your comments video. It's like Inception. The first comment is from Julie Ochoa and she writes, "Morgan, your hair looks great." Thank you. "I'm having trouble finding your other channel. Could you include a link? Thank you." Yes, my second channel is youtube.com/Guten-Morgan. So I haven't had the opportunity to upload anything there for the last 3 weeks, but there will be new videos coming there soon as well. Next comment is from Amanda Dean. Amanda writes, "You make the best comebacks, sarcastic yet classy, clever, funny, and non-offensive, all at the same time. I hope you realize that's a rare talent in this day and age when many just wake up ready to be offended over the slightest thing." Have you guys seen what's going on with huge YouTubers like Shane Dawson and Jenna Marbles? People are digging up things from way in their past, like going through their entire library and everything that they've ever posted online and finding things that are somewhat questionable and using that to like destroy their entire career. It's getting a little extreme if you ask me. But I'm glad that people still enjoy what I do, and yes, I do get sarcastic and sometimes I get a little bit worked up, but I would never intend to purposefully like offend or belittle anybody. It's always like with a little bit of tongue in cheek, you know? And the final comment is from somebody that's been around here a long time, and I hope you're watching this because Brandon Koch, I just missed your birthday a couple days ago. So let's all write a happy birthday in the comments to Brandon. And I hope you had a fantastic day. And even if it wasn't your birthday, I hope you're having a fantastic day out there and that you're taking the opportunity to do something interesting and fun this summer in a safe way, including social distancing and covering your nose and mouth to keep you and yourself and everybody around you, did I say you and yourself? You and your family and friends and everybody around you safe. My upload schedule will be somewhat accelerated in the next week, so that means there's gonna be more videos going online in a week than usual, because I just noticed that you guys like to watch the things sooner to when they happen as opposed to like later. So everything I've done in the last 3 weeks is going to be online probably within the next 3 or 4 weeks. And there's gonna be some exciting things coming up soon as well. So if you're watching this very recently, make sure you check out Facebook and Instagram because something really cool is gonna be happening on Friday that I'm going to be posting about there, but the videos for that won't be online until 3 or 4 weeks from now as well. See you soon!